If you're wondering how long a bridge loan takes, you're not alone. I get that question all the time. The truth is, I've been in this business a long time, and it can come down to the borrower's ability to transact in time more so than the lender in a lot of cases. But regardless, I'm going to walk you through a timeline and what to expect in a typical bridge loan process with a hard money lender like myself. So it all starts with a 10 to 15 minute introductory call. I'm going to ask the investor for very basic information. What's the property address? What's the strategy? How long do you plan to hold it? Are you doing any rehab? What's the after repair value? And then I'm going to ask very basic questions about the borrower's experience, the borrower's current credit score, and then ultimately I'm going to make sure that the borrower's liquidity position is, let's call it, in line with what's going to be required for the transaction, just so they know what's required of them personally, and then ultimately what the property needs to appraise out in order to qualify for the loan. Once I understand the deal itself and the borrower's experience, I'm going to put the loan into our sizer, and I'm going to size the loan up based on the metrics that the borrower qualifies for. Is it 85% loan to cost? Is it 10% down? I'm going to put those into our sizer, and then I'm going to be able to produce a preliminary term sheet. At that point, as an investor, you'll have terms that you can sink your teeth into. You'll have an email back to you with a set of requirements that I'll need in order to move the deal to the next steps. So you've spent 15 minutes with me. I didn't pull credit, and you were able to get a full preliminary term sheet outlining all of the potential terms, assuming the information I gather after requesting it and going through it matches. And so it's basically a simple, we trust the information you provide, and then we verify it throughout the process. And so what I've asked a borrower for at this point via email, along with providing the terms, is a purchase and sale agreement. We need to know what the rehab of the property consists of, and I provide a construction budget template to you in this email. I need to know exactly what your experience is in the last 3 years as either an investor on title or as an experienced general contractor on permit. Both of those count here, which is really important. We'll have you fill out an online application just to collect your information and onboard you into the system. We do not run credit at all until you authorize us to do so, which means you've accepted our terms and decided to move forward. So those are the major things that I get on every deal. If you're looking to do a multifamily or you're looking to do a new build, you'll add either a pro forma or plans to that list. But basically at that point, I've collected all the information. Could have happened in an hour after the call, or it could have happened the next day. I'm collecting that information. I've now got it into the system, and now I'm making another call back to you. And I'm going to get on the phone just to finalize everything before I submit the loan for underwriting approval. Once the loan is submitted to underwriting, usually within a day or so, the underwriter will pick it up. They'll review the information. They'll call you if needed to go through all of the information that I've provided and written up. They'll confirm their own due diligence on value, on just your experience background, and then they'll approve the deal, issue a term sheet, and engage the appraiser to start appraising or scheduling the inspection with the borrower. So this all happens really within a 24-hour period. So what I like to really break it down is we've had, day one, which is the preliminary call, and the discovery call, which kind of gives me a sense for the deal, gives you a set of preliminary terms, and I use that to create a framework for which program the deal fits best into, and then I send a follow-up email with the information needed. I've since collected that information. We've had a call. I've confirmed. We've sized the loan up. It's been sent into underwriting, and it's gone through, been reviewed. They've called you if needed, and then the loan gets approved, term sheets issued, appraiser engaged, and we're moving 100 miles an hour to a closing. We do not pull credit during that process. We only pull credit if at that point you decide you want to continue to move forward to a closing. You sign our terms, and then you sign a full credit auth and for us to be able to pull your credit. So it's a very uninvasive process financially for a borrower to go through, and all of this happens within 24 hours. So the preliminary discovery call all the way through to loan approval shouldn't take more than 48 hours max. So after 2 days from initial contact, you have your your loan fully approved from underwriting, you've been issued a term sheet, and your appraiser's been engaged, and now we're moving 100 miles an hour to a closing. This is when it goes back to the borrower's ability to transact, because now is the time we need the borrower to be sending in paperwork. And that includes entity docs, that includes credit authorization forms so we can pull credit in background and things like that. Once we're collecting documents, it's important that we get all those documents while we're waiting for the appraisal and title to come back. The key is we're trying to basically take care of all of the paperwork and not lose any time, so that when the appraisal comes back and title comes back, the file is completely filled, and now the underwriter has the ability to review the file and give us the clear to close. So once the appraisal comes back, which is usually within like 7 or 8 business days, and why we can get it done so fast? Well, that's because we have direct relationships with the appraisers, which means that we get to pick which ones work with us because they're fast, and we're in the speed of money business, so that makes sense. So now the appraisal's back, that triggers the underwriter to re-review the file along with reviewing the appraisal. We want to make sure that file is filled. We don't want the underwriter to look at an incomplete file, because that causes the underwriter to put the file down and pick it back up again. So we're really going to make sure that everything is buttoned up. And what does that mean? We're going to want to make sure that title is in. We're going to make sure that the insurance has been provided through the contact you gave to my processor. We're going to verify your experience as a first-time borrower. We're going to have checked your credit if the report in the file as a repeat didn't expire. We're going to want to make sure that the liquidity requirement is met. And the appraiser, along with the attorneys and whatever, are going to do what they can do behind the scenes to just make tweaks here and there for whatever reason the underwriter finds any holes in the folder. Hopefully they don't. We get through it within an hour or two of receipt of the appraisal, and then from there we're able to move to a closing as soon as 24 hours after we get the clear to close. So we move quickly at every step, and the minute we get that clear to close, that's when our closer comes in and we start immediately moving to a closing. So it's been about 7 or 8 days. We've got the clear to close, and now we're about 24 to 48 hours between the clear to close and getting the project funded and on record. And what that consists of is, as soon as you get the CTC, our closer comes in, reviews the numbers, and makes sure that the HUD, the settlement statement, is correct and that you're comfortable with what you need to bring to closing for a down payment and closing costs. Once that amount is finalized and all parties are comfortable, we've given the loan documents, you're on your way to the closing table, signing all the documents, the money's being wired, and then ultimately the funds are received by the seller and we're on record as having closed. So I've taken you through the anatomy of a 10-day close, and you can hear throughout the timeline how much it matters that the borrower, the investor coming to me, gets information back to me in a timely manner. That initial call, the investor needs to know the numbers. The faster they can rattle out the numbers, maybe it's not a 10-minute call, maybe it's a 3-minute call, maybe it's 2 calls, 3 calls, 4 calls before the borrower knows the numbers, and that extends the time. Then you have the initial doc collection, the purchase and sale, the budget, the experience worksheet, the application. That takes literally 10, 15 minutes for most investors, but I've had some it can take 2 to 3 days. That slows the process down. Every step of the way, the borrower is going to have some responsibility for how fast the project or the loan goes, and that's just something that, as you do your first deal with any lender, it's just the way it is. And so the more responsive you can be as a borrower, the more prepared you can be, the more you communicate early to anticipate any future problems, the more we'll all save time and effort, and the smoother this closing will go. If you're eyeing a property or you have an offer accepted, don't wait. Reach out to me. It's important that you start the process early, and we can go through and fill in the pieces as you go. However, if you can't start the process early, it's important that you're prepared, and I hope this video goes a long way in explaining the process, the timeline, and helps you get prepared. Whether you come to me or you go to another lender, it's all about being prepared and having the information at your fingertips to allow the lender to do what they do best in this space, which is getting to a closing very quickly. Because to me, that's all that matters, right? We're in the speed of money business. So if you have any questions about the process, the timeline, leave it in the comments. You can always reach out to me. My information is everywhere. And as always, I'd like to thank the sponsor, Asset-Based Lending, and I appreciate the likes and the subscribes, guys, and I can't wait to the next one.